Well, good Saturday morning for some of us. I'm on Central Time, so it's still 10 o'clock. I just got back from breakfast. Hey, look, I just wanted to do a video on uh, me reconnecting with APPA football. I mean, APPA baseball, not football. I do have football too. Um, but I wanted to talk a little bit about that, why I decided to do that. Um, kind of what I'm doing with it. And then also wanted to talk a little bit about, because there's been a couple of chats on the board about people's C&D, cards and dice, for those of you who don't know what C&D is, journey from a young kid all the way to here I am 57 now. How did I get here? So I just wanted to share that. So I think I'm going to start with the latter because it'll help explain maybe a little bit of the APPA Reconnect as well. So let me just start with my journey. How did this go? How did I get to where I am to playing these games today? So got to go all the way back, and my wife will tell you that I don't always get the order of events correct. So if I get these wrong, it's only going to be off by maybe a few months. But as a young kid, I got introduced to gaming like this through a friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine. One was playing Status Pro, and we're talking back in the 1970s here, late 70s, probably like 76, 77, 78. And then we continued to play them later. But one was playing Status Pro, and then the other one was playing Stratomatic. We used to play I used to play over at their houses, and one of them in their basements, and we just played and played and played. So that's how I got kind of introduced to C&D overall, the whole idea of the gaming. Really loved it, really got into it. But through that process, even though I was a kid who didn't grow up in a very, very rich family at all, we couldn't afford those kind of games. That's why I went to my friends' houses to play them. But I remember shoveling driveways and making enough money as a kid in Northeast Ohio to got the brown shirt on, by the way. Enough money to get my own game, and I didn't want to just get Strat or Status Pro at that time. I wanted to get something that was mine, and that's where APPA came in. I saw the ad in one of the probably Street and Smith's magazine or something, and decided, I'll have my own game. They've got theirs, I've got mine, and that's how I got introduced to APPA. And I started playing that as a kid. I quite honestly did not get it. Status Pro was so easy, and Strat was real easy, and we were only playing the basic Strat Strat. And APPA came along, and it was just different, and it had the charts, and I don't know, I just didn't connect with it really well, but it was my game, so I was excited. And then, life in high school hit, and I walked away for the most part. And then I got into the military, and I was working 12-hour shifts at night, and we were bored out of our yin yang. And a friend of mine was like, "Hey, have you ever played these cards and dice games?" And I don't remember which game he had. I believe it was Status Pro. Whatever it was, I had already known it. And so we started playing on the night shift, which was really fun. That, again, didn't last long. I don't know what happened. We probably went off different shifts, and I never saw it again or didn't see it again for quite a long time. And then I hit my 50s. And 50s medically have not been good for me. I've broken a hip. I've had strokes. I've had a lot of crap happen to me since I turned 50. But the reason I'm saying all that is I had to slow my lifestyle down and slow what I was doing and look for a hobby. And I was like, maybe I'll get back into, I really liked doing those things as a kid. Maybe I'll get back into this. And to my astonishment, of course, the community is ginormous. And all of these games and growing every day. So I jumped right back into APPA. That was the first one I jumped back into. And I bought, oh my God, I don't know how many seasons at that point. I'm up to baseball alone. I think I'm up to 25 seasons, mainly between I have some outside of this group, but mainly between 1970 and 1990 was my area that I really enjoyed. And so I started replaying those. Boom, 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 just playing. It gave me something to do. And then, of course, like many of you, COVID hit, and I was already doing a lot of work from home before this. So they gave me the opportunity right after work to just slide my chair over and play games. But when COVID hit, I think that brought a lot of people into playing too, because you just slide your chair over. It wasn't like you have to do the whole thing and come home and then go upstairs and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I did APPA, and then I started noticing other games and people talking about other games. And I, of course, already knew about Stratomatic, and I already knew about Status Pro, but other games started popping up. Like 4 or 5 years ago, like one of my favorites, definitely my favorite, Payoff Pitch came into play, and I started playing that, and I basically walked away from APPA at that point. I honestly thought the cards, compared to the cards I was seeing from other places, they're boring. The APPA cards are boring to me. It's a shiny new toy, right? Other things are always shiny new toys, and it was just a different way of doing things. Playing the game, different flows, and you get into some of the play game stuff. And wow, that's just really completely different than any of these other C&D games we play. So I got into Payoff Pitch and other things and played that for quite a long time. And I'd like to give credit where credit is due. When we get back into now I'm going to shift over to my APPA Reconnect. I know that the season I'm playing, 1997, is due to the conversation that I had on Digital to Dice with Ron, when Ron had said, with Ron and Dave, when Ron had said to me if I ever thought about playing 1997. And that, I'm a Cleveland fan. And one of the things that I think the reason I can flow through these games so fast and flow through these seasons and not get overworked or upset or blah, 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 is because I have low expectations of my Cleveland teams that are in these. I'm also a huge Cincinnati Reds fan. So, the Reds had great years in the 70s and 80s. Cleveland, no. But 1997 is, of course, the year the Indians went to the World Series and lost in Game 7, and that heartbreak to Florida. And so everyone always asked me, as Ron did, why won't you replay that? Get that back, get that win back. And I get that. I get that idea and that thought process. And maybe this is only going to reconnect with Cleveland fans when I say this. What if it doesn't happen? What if they don't even make the playoffs? What if they make the playoffs but get knocked out in the first round, or get knocked out in the ALCS? Or what happens if they make the World Series? What happens if they play Florida and they lose again? I'm just reliving over the horrible heartbreak. So that was my mindset for a very long time. I completely avoided the 1997 season, despite having the 1997 APPA cards in my library. And Ron just asking me that, it just stuck with me. And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And was like, you know what? Just play it. Just see what happens. So that's what led me to 97. What led me back to APPA? That was a conversation with, I believe it was ID Jester, who had posted something about something else he was doing completely different. And somehow we got on the subject of APPA. And he said, why don't you give it another try? And I'm like, why don't I? Why am I avoiding APPA? I know one reason I was avoiding APPA lately was I ordered football from them because Dave has been playing it, and I was like, let me take a look at the APPA football. I'd already had a season, but I didn't have the latest rules and all that, so I ordered a whole game from them and a whole new season, and it came and it wasn't mine. It was somebody else's. And it was a year where the Browns didn't win a game. Like, really? Is this a sign? You literally sent me the wrong game. As Phoenix drops by, I'm much newer to the sport games, but for me, the more I hear about companies like APPA and Strat, the more hesitant I am about getting into them. Or further, in the case of APPA, Phoenix, it's hard for me to say no after what I just said. It wasn't that they sent me the wrong season, and it wasn't that they sent me the wrong season. I actually looked at the packing slip, and it belonged to somebody else. They mixed our shipments up. That happens. Got no problem with that. Let me be very clear. No problem with that. It happens. First thing I did, email them. Hey, you sent me so-and-so season, scanned in the receipt, showing whose it was, saying which season I was supposed to get, sent it back to them. Nothing for 5 days. No response, not even an automated response to say, we got your concern. Nothing. So I sent them another one. Nothing. I was complaining on the APPA boards. And I know they don't follow the APPA boards, but as a company that size, you may want to have somebody on there. Nothing. And then all of a sudden one day, just when I had basically put it away and just said, well, screw APPA, this is how they're going to treat their customers, in comes my correct shipment. Never an email saying, I'm sorry about that, new one's on the way. We got your email, we're working on fixing it. All the things that would have calmed me down or would have got me to say, okay, all right, they got this, they're going to send me my new one. None of that. So, the customer service, I don't care what anybody says. And I know there's a lot of APPA community out there that will back them. They could do anything, kill their kids, and they're still going to say APPA's amazing. APPA's customer service blows. And I know people are like, oh, it's one guy named John. No, it's not. He's got people helping him. He's got people doing some of the shipments. And it's obvious with the size of his company and the stuff that's ordered from his company, he needs more help. And I know I'm not going to get into an APPA rage here because enough people have already said this about the company. But does that mean I should ignore 25 different seasons sitting in my closet because their customer service sucks? That's kind of where I had to cross a line and figure out, okay, I bought 25 seasons. I must really like the game. Who buys 25 seasons and doesn't like the game? So I said, you know what? I'm going to try the 97. I'm going to try it with APPA. And I'm going to come to either a final conclusion that I'll just get on and sell all 25 of my seasons and, buy others. Or I'm going to jump back into APPA. And I'm not going to say after a week that I've made any huge decision. I will say that I remember why I like it. I like it because I memorized it. I know what a 33 is for the most part. It's different with people on base, but the number coming back to me, a 13 is a strikeout. 14 is a walk unless he's a Z pitcher or ZZ pitcher. I know what all the codes are. I know what the Ds are. I use Paul Marino boards, and if any of you use APPA, the Paul Marino boards are the difference makers here because it is the crossover from, or maybe not a crossover, but it is a crossover to getting to play the master game because you can pick out bits and pieces of the master game that you like, and the Marino boards support that. Now, I use the Marino boards completely, 100% of what's on there. Every single thing that's on there I use because I think that it crossed that lefty-right split that I need. It crosses making sure that pitchers who don't hit batters don't hit them. The wild pitch ratings are better. The home runs that are given up are better. So it just, to me, is a little bit better. The Marino boards kind of take all that into play, and it makes a huge difference for me. And maybe I'll do an APPA game eventually, maybe this weekend, showing the Marino boards and showing how I do it. It extends my game. Look, I can do an APPA basic game in 10 minutes. But the Marino game, I'm going to call it the Marino game. The Marino boards incorporated into the game adds another probably 10 minutes, depending on the complexity of what the roles are. Once you get into it, it's all about the top 9 numbers. That's when you have to go into the Marino boards. But anything from 10 to 66 is not as much used on the Marino boards. I know. Oh, that was the other thing that I like about the Marino boards is there were too many errors on the second baseman. I remember playing, and when I first got APPA back and going, oh my God, one second baseman had like 38 errors, and we were halfway through the season. It was because the team defense, the way that the basic game is rated, is you got a team infield number, which is great if you use ball score, by the way, because it gives you that number at the bottom. But your second baseman may be Ryan Sandberg, some awesome second baseman, with a great defensive number. But if the rest of the infield sucks, he's going to make a bunch of errors. So the Marino boards took that into consideration, and now there's always been 1, 2, and 3. But instead of looking at the team defense, even though you do in a few roles, the majority of the roles you're looking at the rating of the player affected. So is the second baseman an 8-9 or 7-8, 6 below, that type of thing. So it's when you hit the number to that, or when you hit the ball to them, it's actually rated on the player, not the team defense. So that's another reason I use the Marino boards. It really helps statistically make the game better. So I use those. And then of course I do as played replays anyway. So I don't, I do like the system that they have with the pitcher's fatigue, but again, I don't use it. And then the grading that they have A through D for pitchers, again, not used because I use the Marino boards. You use a number that comes on their card, which is really cool. It's at the bottom, but again, I'll go over all that later when I do a replay. Anyway, so for now, I've gotten 2 days in, about 20 games, I'd say, after, gosh, I think I started this on Thursday. Maybe it was Wednesday. I'm also using Digital Diamond because a lot of people talk about that. I'm a huge ball score guy, and ball stat really works with APPA, like I said. But everybody had been talking about, Digital Diamond. So I threw it in there. I'm like, hey, let's give that a shot too. Something else I've been kind of avoiding, if you will. Let's try that out. Let's see how that works. I noticed right away it's a ginormous memory hog. I can't stream music and play Digital Diamond at the same time. It buffers it tremendously, and I have no game that does that. Nothing that's never done that to my machine. Now my Dell is a little bit older. It's still got 16 megs of RAM. It's still Core i7. It's not a joke, but and 2 programs, streaming music from SiriusXM with a stat entry, basically, is what you're doing. A manual roll entry program should not, kill your music. And I got AT&T fiber as my line, 5 gig, 5 tera. So it's zero reason for me to be buffering anything. So that's my only knock on it. It's also, and I'm just learning about it, so maybe some things I have wrong about it. The player pictures that come with it that you download from some of the websites, again, maybe I'm not grabbing the right one, but I grabbed one that said it was 1997 player pictures, and 60% of them, maybe a little more, are 1997 player pictures. But I'm replacing it at bare minimum 12 of the 25 players on the roster for each team, their photos to be the actual team they're on. And maybe that's my own COD. I like to have the if you're on the Reds, Pete Shark, I'm getting ready. He's right here in front of me, getting ready to pitch my next game. He's got I think a Mets picture, and it's like, I don't want to see that when he's pitching for the Reds. So I So I spent my first couple of days re-downloading all the pictures individually for uh, each each team, making sure I've got them all. So that's made it go a little bit slower. Also, you got to learn the what I call the algebra for Digital Diamond. Yeah, G6 for a ground ball to short, but Jesus help you if anything weird happens outside of a straight ground ball to the shortstop. You end up putting in algebra equations, to get a runner to go to second, and then if there's an error, it becomes crazy. For that, just again, speaking from somebody who uses ball score, which is real simple to do, takes me 2 seconds to put in. Even weirdest plays take 2 seconds to enter. But I'm also assuming I'm going to get really used to it and figure out how to use Digital Diamond, and it will be second nature to me eventually. That's where I'm hoping for. But in the beginning there, I've got it up on my other machine, the cheat sheet of it or whatever, and I'm constantly hitting Control F and looking for, looking how do I get a base hit to center field and the runner go to third. It just little things like that in the beginning was very tedious. So anyway, but I'm having fun. That's, as we go back to the Digital Dice podcasts and all the other things that are out there, the most important thing is to have fun. I'm having so much fun that new shipments that came in this week that were late, at least one of them was late, and I'm not going to say which one because it's not the blame of the vendor. It was on the post office. It's sitting here, not even being touched. One is I bought the brand new hoops game with the really cool. You can see it's still in the bubble wrap. And I bought a bunch of the hoop stuff with it. The new Hoops Primetime game. That's all right on here under my desk. So there's that, all in bubble wrap. Haven't even opened it. I planned to, and then I started doing this because I was waiting for the prime time to come in, and then I got kind of like re-addicted to APPA. Like, well, I'm not going to force the game onto my game table. When it makes it, it makes it. And then the other thing is Strat had a deal over the weekend or over the week, whatever it was, and I bought a bunch of hockey. Really, I like Strat hockey. It's becoming one of my favorite hockey games. And hockey overall is becoming some of my favorite. I avoided that as a kid. Didn't understand it. Didn't want to do anything with it. Now hockey's become really good. There's probably 4 hockey games I really like, including APPA. 49 Quick Decks hockey is really fun. That's brand new. That's out. I really was playing that for a while. Plan to get right back to that eventually here, maybe even this weekend. And then still Hockey Bones is another one of my favorites. So there's just so many great hockey games out there. It's amazing how, for me, baseball is still one from the amount of games out there and the amount of good games that are out there, but hockey's number 2 now, if you ask me. And hockey may be creeping into 1. When you think about all the companies and the quality of work that they do for hockey, it's up there with baseball. And then it's football, and then it's basketball. But basketball is even starting to creep up a little bit. Of course, football and basketball, and to a degree hockey, they all battle baseball because we can play baseball games in 10 to 15 minutes, even though it's a 162 game schedule, where the other ones are a lot smaller. People don't look at the total time it takes to do a season. They just look at the individual one-time gameplay. How long does it take to play? And I get that, because not everybody can sit down and spend 2 hours at a tabletop to finish a football game or a basketball game. So JC stops by. Thanks, JC. Thanks for stopping by. Good morning to you, my friend. So anyway, that's what I wanted to come on and talk about, was just to share my journey and share why I've reconnected with APPA. And I would suggest to anybody out there who has a first love of these C&D games to go back and maybe you'll remember why you really like the game. And try not to let things that happen, like shipping issues that I had, pull you completely away from the game. And again, maybe not, I shouldn't even use the word shipping issues. It was customer service issues. Pull you away from something you really love. I can tell you it's going to be hard for me to go onto that Apple website and order anything. In fact, I'll probably order from now on, probably from eBay, and get my cards from there when it comes to APPA. That's out of spite, but it is what it is. So that's it. Thanks for those who stopped by. JC says he's waiting for 73 APPA. Is that baseball you're waiting for, or is that a different game that you're waiting on? 73 is a great season, though. Oh God, I love 73. I've got 73 in Payoff Pitch. Man, is it fun! I played a bunch of that before I kind of stalled out a little bit, but that 73 season is fun. You'll enjoy it. And he says it's baseball. Yeah, I think you're going to have fun playing that. That's a blast. All right. Well, thanks again for everybody stopping by, and look forward to seeing everyone again. And like I said, I'll probably drop another stream later of maybe me doing APPA with the Paul Marino boards.